G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is II Strela-P. This is yet another Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the new one, ported weapon into the game. This one is a shoulder-mounted, recoilless rifle capable of delivering a very high-powered projectile at a pretty high velocity. Now, this thing does run on missiles, but that does not actually mean it's a missile launcher. You might notice how I call it a recoilless rifle. Basically, what it means is instead of firing a weapon that has its propulsion inside the projectile itself like a missile would, rather it's just powered by one large gas explosion going out the back and also out the front simultaneously, launching the projectile over far. Basically, there's no missile or anything propelling the projectile other than the initial explosion by... It's like loading a giant bullet into this thing, basically. But what you'll get out of that is a missile launcher type performance, but the projectiles will be incredibly fast, which is good for hitting moving targets, which I'm sure that won't be an issue because most of the targets we'll be shooting at will either be massive or not moving that fast at all to warrant that. But it'll mean over range you can actually get a lot of work done with this thing. It does have a see-through scope mounted, so it's a requirement of this thing, and that see-through scope does give you a nice little bit of zoom in, so you can make use out of this thing's high velocity. In terms of customization, there's basically nothing here except for sleight of hand. It's the faster reload perk from Call of Duty, which is going to be useful because one shot per reload in this magazine, I suppose, and the reload is sort of a lengthy process, so making that faster will increase your DPS by quite a lot. And there's also a legendary effect on this. Throwing on something like instigating would be pretty good, but I'll refrain from doing that. Getting this weapon in-game is easy. All you need to do is go to a specific location. Here I am in the USS Constitution. That's the captain's cabin right there for reference, and you'll find it leaning on a crate next to these cannons and radio on the wall. Close to this Bosound fella who doesn't have any arms, yet is a Mr. Handy, which is ironic. Now, right now, for me, the USS Constitution is parked up on top of the financial district just above the Faneuil Hall, but you'll find this usually somewhere around here if you haven't gotten this launched yet. And once you pick that up, there you go, you've gotten your Strela-P, and now you can shoot stuff with it, which is going to be fun. Righto, welcome to Fort Galaxy, population a bunch of gunners for now, and this is Strela in first person, complete with sprinting animations and bashing animations as well, with a wiggly little carry handle once you do that. Interesting. So, take a quick look down the scope of this thing. Yep, it's see-through, and you'll notice there's a giant glowing red dot in the center of that, meaning you can use this thing pretty effectively during the night should you use this for a night operation, which is nice, and the zoom in is quite nice. Obviously, as a see-through scope in third person, you're only going to get the minimal iron sight zooming in, but if you're in a sort of a more close quarter situation where this thing would sort of restrict your vision, I suppose, even though it's a pretty open sight, then you can switch to third person aim with that and not have to worry about having your vision blocked or cut off somehow. Here's what it looks like in third person, by the way. Pretty nice. You'll see there's a canted sort of foregrip on an angle there, which tells me that this is not just copy-pasted vanilla animations for a third person in the missile launcher, which is good stuff. Anyways, without further ado, let's shoot some things. Now, utilizing this thing's scope and high velocity projectile, we can get a whole lot of good damage done with this weapon. You'll also notice that it's incredibly loud, so we'll make this change on the fly here, and you won't be able to hear the gunner's screams as much, but you might be able to hear me over the missile launcher a little bit. And just to give you an idea of the projectile speed, yeah, that got there in no time at all as compared to a standard vanilla game missile launcher. And whilst they're all clustered like that, I feel like it's a good idea to put some shots over there. That's at least one kill there. That guy's a little bit too close, so we'll try to pop one around the corner. Unfortunately, he survived that. That's fine. We can get this thing loaded up pretty quickly with the sleight of hand perk. Obviously, we've got the rapid reload perk along with that, and with that, we get a fairly quick reload, which we can just duck behind cover for a few seconds, and then we're pretty much right to go again. The ability to kill a gunner as they are on this difficulty in one shot, I think, is super useful. The only problem is that if you want to use this thing for a survival playstyle, those missiles that you have in your inventory to power this, they're going to be weighing you down significantly. thought he'd duck out of the way of that missile, or that projectile, but that's not happening, pal. And you see that guy over there, you can snipe at him, and hit him like that, which is great. Hit him in no time. And you also notice that it's kind of hard to see some of the time, so I'll switch to a third-person camera for this next bit, but there's actual bullet drop, or just over range the projectile will arc, which is a little bit of added realism, I suppose, and I can appreciate that approach, sort of a balancing thing. Although you get a lot of range out of this thing, you'll have to compensate for the drop of the projectile over a long range, which, you know, makes the weapon a little bit more interesting to use than just a simple point, shoot, and wait sort of thing, like the vanilla game railway gun, which I don't like at all, and continue to dislike through Fallout 76, but we'll stop talking about that. So, we've had a pretty cruisy run of this place so far. Not too bad. I think I'm going to retreat up the hill for a second just so I can get an angle on that guy. If I can just lob the missile over to get a nice little hit. Actually, we've got a few gunners over there which are sort of packed in. I think I counted 2 kills there. We'll blow up this car. I'm surprised it didn't take the car out in one shot. I'm actually kind of disappointed. There we go. And I think all those plasma grenades they're throwing at me, that's finally caught up with me. And let me just... I guess we could just reload and VATS if we wanted to. Super fast reload. There we go. Get another missile down there. And to VATS again. And there we go. So if you want to preserve your nerd rage time, you can do it quite like that. We've actually gained enough health to get ourselves back out of nerd rage. Give us a little bit of breathing room, but I don't think we'll have much problems against the rest of these gunners or whatever they can throw at us. There you go. There's a little bit of an idea of what kind of bullet drop you're dealing with over a distance. Again, the thing fires so fast that many of the times you probably won't have to do it. Any extreme long-range shot will probably get you out of sort of rendered distance for this particular weapon, so, you know, something to look out for. I haven't used this thing in VATS much yet, so this guy, he's getting crit. You'll see that despite being a recoilless rifle in its description and its use, it just fires this standard missile launcher projectile, which I don't know if that's a deal breaker for you. It certainly isn't for me. It's, I guess you could call it a placeholder. Maybe they couldn't find the specific projectile asset in the Call of Duty thing, or maybe they'll add that in a new update. I know that the Javelin had that wicked cool missile that you'd see. That's why I put it in the thumbnail of that video, because the Javelin missiles look sick when they've got all their fins folded out. Anyways, I kind of feel deaf at the moment because I had to turn all the game down just so I could speak over the weapon itself. Maybe if I wanted to tinker with the effects a little bit or crank the sound back up on the music or something, because you might be hearing my laptop's fans at the moment and that's not pleasant to listen to, is it? And 1 Brigadier left. Not anymore. And with that, we have cleared out the Immersive Gunners Plaza. I'd say we didn't break a sweat, but we went into Nerd Rage a couple of times there, but we played sort of recklessly with this thing regardless. And as standard, heavy weapons don't have a compatibility with classic holstered weapons. It's a shame, but if you've decided to tune that mod to allow it, then I might be holding this thing on my back right now, but for now, we don't. So let's shoot something else. Alright, it's time to take on the Swan, and this thing I've kind of figured is more of a crowd control, kill a bunch of smaller, lesser enemies thing than a giant boss monster killer, despite its massive damage. But what we'll do is we'll utilize this thing at the longest range we can possible, and that way we'll see that cool drop off, and we'll get a bunch of free hits before he comes out and tries to kick our asses. But I'll use this thing in VATS just a second, because there's something I want to talk about when using this thing. In my preliminary testing, I found that using this thing in VATS is just terrible. It's like, it's death, because sure, you'll get that projectile fired, and you've got good accuracy with it, good range, and you'll hit whatever you want, but the DPS on this thing is so slow, because you have to stop and reload after every shot. And as you can tell, cross-eyed Carla there just didn't reload immediately, so that lost us a few precious seconds there. And whilst he's advancing on our position here, we're not getting as much DPS as we would normally. But at least we get a cool third-person view of what the reload animation looks like, even if we do fail to put a new rocket in there. I'm going to throw a critical in this as well, just because I want to see him. Because he's getting close, and let's just move over here. Alright. So now I've got the super mutant suicider after me as well, but that's fine. If I can catch him and the other one in the explosion, then that's actually pretty good. I'll try to keep that super mutant suicider alive just for that specific purpose, but if I can't do it, then whatever. So, and concerning the DPS here, it's not too bad, but, you know, by the time we've got this thing reloaded, he's already sort of up in our grill, ready to hit us with his giant hammer anchor thing. So that causes problems. There we go. I think I actually got a little bit of extra damage out of that. And we got a sprint as soon as we stop this thing. Actually, hang on. Where is he? There he is. So regarding VATS, I found the best way to run this is actually to just exploit quick hands in order to get this loaded a lot quicker in terms of how fast you would load it in real time. Because notice that the reload animation is happening. You can hear it, but you can't see it. And in terms of how it would be compared to real time, we've gotten this. That was basically like firing this thing with a speed loader installed. So yeah, that was some pretty good DPS for the in-game time that transpired there. So that was pretty good. I can't believe I just missed a giant super mutant like that. Now, if we can get him jammed between these two carriages, that would be pretty good. Don't think that's going to happen. We do, however, have a full AP bar ready to go. So we'll get that one fired. And we got 2 criticals ready to go. Probably pulled that reload a little bit too early. Or rather, the firing a little bit too early. As a rock comes in from off screen to smash Carla in the face. Tell you what, that'd be kind of distracting. And there we go. Make sure that 0 is a 1 before you get going. Just watch this in the corner. And good to go again. Was that a 95% chance of a whiff? I think it was. There you go. There you go. You've seen it now. 95% chance you're going to miss... What is it? You've really... Is it like a 5% chance of missing? 1 in 20? I mean, if you say 5% chance, it sounds like a lot less than 1 in 20, but that's the statistical rule there. What I think just happened is, I mean, it's just capped at 95. It just bugged out. The projectile just bugged out. That's a nice critical. We've got a little bit of cover here in the form of this tree. It's not going to stop him from throwing rocks at me, but that was a particularly fast reload there. So I don't mind that. And I think we've got this one sort of in the bag here. So we can utilize this lean mod, which I seldom use very often. Although I've got to be careful with this thing because if I do clip this tree, which I might because of the hitboxes in this game, then that's just me dead. And then I'll have to do this fight all over again. I'll take his arm out there, I reckon. Never mind. Although I get some supplementary damage from the mysterious stranger. No, I don't. Fool me once, shame on you. Okay, run. Just run. There we go. Now let's get him jammed between these 2 things. Nope. He's actually being pretty smart in his pathfinding today. We've got a crit ready to go. Don't fail me again, mysterious stranger, or I'll get you force choked. Absolutely worthless. Okay, well, I may have distractions in the forms of giant lobsters for him to eat instead of me, so we'll utilize that for as long as we can. Not particularly worried about the little dudes down below, but if I stand up here and just snipe at him... Yes, this is perfect. We've got to play this weapon strengths, its velocity is its strength, and utilizing this over range is definitely the way to go. Plus, I think I can block his projectiles by sitting behind this plywood walls and stuff, which is nice. Just gotta be really careful where I'm putting the missiles here because my explosion radius is fairly large. There we go. Okay, I didn't actually expect to kill him on that blow, but we got there, we got the level up, and I think you get the point. So that's kind of been the thing. Like, even the javelin was like a room clear, a smart bomb video game sort of arcade style thing where it just killed everything around you, but against a bunch of, against one giant enemy where you kind of had to hit it multiple times, that's where it starts to fail you. But in terms of how it is, like the vanilla game, you're going to be fine with it. If you want to use this thing instead of a vanilla missile launcher, then you've got a very solid weapon to use all the way to the late game. And the fact that you can just get it on the USS Constitution is great. Might be problematic with survival mode just because of how heavy the projectiles are. But if you want to carry like 3 to 4 to 7 of these missiles along with you, just for special occasions, then if you need quick DPS, then it's a great weapon to use. So if you're impressed with this weapon, check out links in the description. I'll link it down there. It's another good COD port. They tend to actually be good. It's like all of the modders that play COD, they know what they're doing when they make weapon mods. So I'm glad, because mostly none of them, I don't think I can recall any COD weapon mod other than being slightly broken in some area that was just completely weak and a pain in the ass to use. So, you know, they're onto something. It's just another reason why turning Fallout into Call of Duty is a good thing. I want to hear some salt about that comment. We're all the people that play the 2D Fallouts and talk about the lore and roleplay of it. Because, nah, we're playing a shooter now. Thanks for watching. Not only that, but Call of Duty with Barbie dolls as well. It's the best game.